Hey friends, it's art day. It's Miss Sudie. I'm so glad to see you again. Today we're going to do another lesson on one of the artists that I just love. I hope you like it as much as I do. I'm going to talk about our tools first, just like we did on the previous lesson about Adriel McGill. This one is about a gentleman whose name is Henry Rousseau. Now, before we get started about talking about Henry Rousseau, let's talk about the tools. I'm encouraging you kids to use what you have at home. I'm just using ordinary stuff here. I've got leaves from my backyard. You'll see how that fits in just a minute. I've got some paint that's from the cabinets here, but you remember that you can use grocery store paints. And you can use, for your picture drawing section, you can use markers or crayons or oil pastels, or you can paint them with your watercolor box. If you're going to use this, boys and girls, remember to moisten your paints so that you wake them up before you begin. Well, let's learn a little something about our friend Henry Rousseau. The big difference between you guys at the Acorn and Mr. Henry Rousseau were that he did not have an art teacher. You do. You have Miss Sudie as your art teacher. But yet he became very famous. You'll get a big kick out of his style. His style's real different, and it shows that he did not have a lot of formal training. Mr. Rousseau was from the country of France. Here's a picture of him. Look at his fancy artist outfit. He was from the country of France. And he was a man who loved art. And he loved poems and music and plays and songs. But he wanted to paint. And he loved seeing the world around him. And then he wanted to represent it. I'm going to put this one, and we'll go back to this in a minute. I love this book. This book is called A Weekend with Rousseau. Now I'll show you, you can see right off the bat where Mr. Rousseau lived. Here, here's a better picture. Okay. Now, Mr. Rousseau had a daytime job. Don't your mommies and daddies have to work? A lot of people, mommies and daddies, go to work or they work from home. Well, Mr. Rousseau had a daytime job, so he could not paint all day. He was not an artist that earned his money with art. He had to work. And here is a picture. Here is a painting by Mr. Rousseau of where he worked. And here is an actual photograph of it. He worked in a little booth on a road coming into the city of Paris, where the city of Paris charged a little tax on anything that you went outside of the city of Paris to buy. When you came back into the city, if you had fruits or vegetables, you had to pay a little tax. And so he was a little collector for the tax. He called him a toll house. In the United States, we use this term toll booth for cars only. But in this time, they charged for other things as well. Okay, toll booth. And here's a photograph and his painting. As you can see, his paintings are beautiful with color. And they, I love the greenery, the leaves. He loved the greenery, the sky. Now, Mr. Rousseau lived where this is. What is that? Anybody tell me? That's in a very famous place. It's called the Eiffel Tower, and it's in Paris, France. And I love this picture because you can see the fair that it was built for. The Eiffel Tower is the only thing that's left, but it was built to be the centerpiece of a big party, a fair. A world's fair. And that's the city he lived in, was Paris, France. And he loved to do the Parisian landscape. Let me find this fun picture that you will like. I know it's in this one. I always ask boys and girls what they think these guys are doing. Right here. What do you think is happening right there? Most Acorn boys and girls say they have on their pajamas. Does it look like pajamas to you? Does to me. How about, look at their feet. Do you think they could actually stand up on those feet? What are the shape of their heads? They kind of look like footballs, don't they? Well, obviously, Mr. Rousseau didn't know how to make the human body look normal. So he made these guys look silly. They are playing a sport that's like rugby, football, soccer. They call it football, but it's like soccer or rugby. I think it's more like rugby because I'm looking at the ball. But look at his greenery. Now, Mr. Rousseau didn't have a lot of time to go to do his work either. So he worked all day, and then he would go home and he would work at his table, his kitchen table, just like another artist, Paul Klee, that we looked at. And then he would draw pictures. Now, he always wanted to travel very much. He wanted to go to the deepest, darkest Africa and draw pictures of the animals. But he couldn't. So where do you suppose he would go to look at pictures of tigers and lions? He would go to the zoo. Can you go to the zoo? You bet you can. He would go to the zoo and he would draw pictures of the animals at the Paris Zoo. Here's a lion. Here's a tiger. He had never seen these in real life, so he went to their zoo to look at them. Now, he loved representing the plants and the greenery and the leaves, but he didn't have a place to go to see what would grow in Africa, or he couldn't go to Africa. He was a working man, a family man. So he went to the Botanical Center in Paris. Do we have a botanical center, boys and girls? Yes, we do. It's right up the street from the Acorn, and you can see gorgeous plants. And you can take your sketchbook and your crayons, and you can draw pictures at the zoo when it opens again. Now, here's a picture of one of his monkeys, and he imagined what he wanted them to look like. But remember, he didn't really know how to do this. He wasn't real good at representing him in a natural fashion like you have known. And then all of a sudden his artwork got very famous. Lots of people in the art world at the time in Paris loved his work, and they collected his work, and one of them was Pablo Picasso that we talked about a week ago. I love this owl, this bird, in all the greenery. So he imagined, he went to the zoo, he went to the Botanical Center, and he came up with paintings that are very different and very fanciful. And there are some really gorgeous, big paintings by Henry Rousseau at the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. And so if you ever go with your family to New York, you can go to see his pictures. But for us, for our purposes, boys and girls, here's a great photograph of him personally in his fancy painting outfit. Isn't that fun? And I'm going to close this and look at the very front cover of our book here. He called himself a Sunday painter because when could he actually take time to paint? On Sundays. So now our project, and I have some up here that have been done during the years, previous years. Our project is for you to take a piece of paper. Now, Miss Sudie, I haven't got any of this big construction paper, and that is okay. You can use whatever you have. Right here, I have a big piece of construction paper. And I have just some paper from the copier. So you can choose whatever you want to do. Now, in the spirit of Rousseau, boys and girls, let's draw at least 3. And I always make boys and girls draw at least 3 animals. Use what you have. If you have crayons or markers, and if you need inspiration, you can look in one of the many books around your house for inspiration in animals, or you can just make it up out of your head. That's what I usually do. Or I've got some friends here, and I'll bet you guys have got some friends at your house that you could use as inspiration. I don't want you to get frustrated if they don't look just perfect. It doesn't make any difference. It's just for the fun of doing it. Okay, I'm going to try Mr. Piggy right here. And I don't have to have it be pink. I think I'll make him orange. I think I'm going to use one of these smooth crayons right here. So, I'm going to put Mr. Piggy right here. And I'm going to hold this up here. Now, Mr. Piggy's made up of a round circle for his head, another one for his nose, some little round ones for his ears. I think little Piggy's ears are, and a round one for his body. And look, he's got little arms, little feet. Okay? And now I recommend you color in some of these features because it just looks so much cuter. And kiddos, you can put as much detail, as much color as you want on these pictures. Okay? You can do it any way you want. Okay? I'm not going to take time to color it all in because you need to take time to do that too. Now, one of the things I love for boys and girls to draw is a snake. So let's draw a snake. I think I'll take, I like green snakes personally. What do you think? Do you like green snakes? I'm just going to use these oil pastels that we have here at school. And remember, a green snake is just a squiggly line. Make a little head, and then follow the line back the same way, okay? Put a little eye. Give him some personality. And how about, how about a little mouth here with these fangs on it? If you want to give him some hair, just for fun, you can give him some hair. But I, like in the one above here, I would make him stripy. That means he's poisonous. Ooh. And you can do this any way you want. You can just color it in. You can make him stripy. Nice thing about being at home is that you can do this any way that makes you happy. And I want 3, remember? And I like butterfly. Butterflies are fun to draw. This is a cool lizard. I think Miss Wendy drew that one. And here is a turtle. So there's all kinds of things. Let's see. Okay, I got Mr. Piggy here. I may have kind of a hard time drawing Mr. Frog, but I'll give him a whirl here. Okay, let's use him for inspiration. Remember, it certainly doesn't have to look just like. I'm kind of doing this upside down, but here's Mr. Frog's body. How about if we put 2 orange eyes up here on top of his head? Remember, the hands don't have to be real distinct. And remember, you can use a picture from a picture book. You boys and girls all have lots of picture books that have pictures of animals in them. I'm going to bring these foil pastels over here. You can use your paint box. You can use your crayons, your markers. But do at least 3 on here. Oh, this guy's looking good. I'm going to make him have some personality. I think I'll put his eyes down low like this. Okay, and then he's going to have some froggy legs. And how about a little pair of feet? Funny. I know it's pretty. having fun. I hope you are. Let me color him in a little bit. Maybe let's put Mr. Piggy have a belt. Remember, on an oil pastel or a piece of chalk, you just turn it on the side and it goes real fast like this, okay? I think he needs a belt. I'm gonna have him have a blue buckle. So see, I'm using my imagination. Let's have a bow in this. Let's have this be a girl Piggy. Put a bow in her hair. If you can do as many other ones as you want to, you can do a bug. How about a that doesn't look like a real bug, does it? Better put a head right here. Okay. So there's all kinds of fun things you can do. Now, I'm going to do the leaves, and I'm going to do them the way we would normally do them here at school. I'm going to use a few tools. We're going to print them on. And that's why I suggest that you have some kind of a t-shirt or smock on, apron. You have plenty of newspaper covering your area. You don't have to have any fancy tools. I'm just going to show you what I'm going to use. I'm going to use an old sponge. As you can see, this is from the school hair snack or lunch, and I've got it on a toothpick. I've got it on a clothespin, and I'm going to start printing using real leaves from my backyard. This is a fern out of a plant on my patio. This is a loquat. I challenge any of you to not have one of these plants in your yard. This one is great. This texture is great. This is a crepe myrtle out of my yard. And I've got different ones. Now, before you start printing, you have your paper that you're working on right here. And you have a clean piece of newspaper that you put right here. And you need another clean piece of newspaper that you're going to have in reserve, and I'll show you why. Okay? So you take, I'll sit down. So you're going to take your leaf and you're going to put some paint on it. Now, more is not better, kiddos. We've talked about that during the year. More is not better. More is just more. And especially with printing, where you want the texture of the leaf to show through. Look at the texture of the leaf with the paint on it. Now, what you're going to do is take your picture after you have applied the paint with a sponge, or you can do it with a brush, just don't drown it. And if some of you have these things work great. Little sponge brushes. And you do it on your piece of newspaper. Okay? And then you're going to turn this over and you're going to lay it on top of the picture. And you get your fresh piece of newspaper and you put it on the top and you give it a back rub. Okay, and you pick it up, pick up your leaf, and you have a wonderful print. Now, usually, sometimes you can use this again without putting more paint. So you don't want to cover everything up completely. And lots of boys and girls like to go around the edge and not cover their pictures, and that's fine too. So I'm going to put this down again, get my clean piece of newspaper, put it on the top, give it a back rub, and pick it up. I want you to do at least 3 prints. Isn't that cool? Because it doesn't have quite so much paint. I'm going to try my fern. I love these as printers. So I'm going to put that other piece. I love to use these for printing. So this time I think I'll use my paintbrush, because these little leaves can rip off. So I'm going to apply the paint to the leaf on one side. And you can see why I have you wearing a little smock, because whatever paints or you have around the house, You don't want it to get on your clothes. Okay, I'm going to put this in the center right here of my picture. And I'm going to put my clean newspaper again. You want a clean side down. And give it a back rub. And then you pick it up. And you have a wonderful print. Now, you only need to do 3 to give it the effect. But there's other things here. And I had forgotten that one thing we did in years past was if you want to have Mom write down what you're thinking about your picture. This boy years ago wrote, "The tiger is hiding because he doesn't want to be attacked by the lion. And the lion is trying to hide behind the leaves so he doesn't get attacked by the cheetah. And the fish is hiding in the water so the cheetah won't eat him." So we had taken a dictation on this one. These are old ones. And then at that time we also had them cut a piece of green construction paper to make more leaves on the bottom of the picture. So this is how we do our Henry Rousseau pictures. Our Henry Rousseau, the artist from France who did all these wonderful pictures that are inspired by the zoo and the botanical center. So I hope you have fun with this, and be sure and send me your picture. I want to see it. Now, boys and girls, if one PS, if you don't have paint at your house, just draw the leaves on with whatever you have. Just make it look like a jungly picture like Henry Rousseau. I hope you had fun. See you next time. Bye, kids. Send me pictures.